Welcome to the French Drain Man channel. I'm Robert Sherwood. I'm going to take you through a job where we were contracted to drain a swamp. Sorry I didn't have my gimbal with me. I literally just did this walkthrough so that the crew and I could go over how we were going to drain this swamp. Believe it or not, there is a valve box to a sprinkler system in there. A lot goes into draining a swamp. You really do have to put your time in. You have to know all the elevations. You're going to have to get an aerial of the area so you have a full understanding of how everything drains. In this case, I even did my footwork where I went and walked through a jungle. I'm talking an overgrown swamp to try to see what I could see on the ground. I understood how everything drained to the one side. I understand why this gentleman lost a good portion of his backyard. And then he had some new construction on the other side, and that's when he realized his landscapers went on somebody else's property with his downspout. So we later had to address that. And we want to make sure that we stay off his brick paver driveway because we don't want the liability in that. So I went ahead and I took flags and I flagged through the swamp so that the guys would be able to follow the flags. You couldn't spray paint. It was so overgrown, and you couldn't mow it. You couldn't cut it back. It was a swamp. Definitely all the aquatic life that you would find, all the wetland plantings that you would expect. This was definitely a not buildable area. It's unbelievable that this gentleman lost his yard. He lost a big portion of his yard over time as the swamp, the wetlands, claimed it, because it once was all done inside. They probably did it during the drought season, I'm assuming. And I want to say that as there's more new builds around him, it's changing elevations everywhere. So it's going to change how the land around him is draining, and he inherited water for sure. I had a few theories on how that happened, but you know what? Regardless on how he lost a good portion of his yard to a swamp, we have to find a way that he could reclaim his yard. And after years and years of not being able to use his backyard like he used to, because where we're working, there used to be this soccer net, and his kids are very active. They're into soccer, and now that they're older, they still like playing soccer, and they need the full length of this backyard to do so. So we're going to get that back for them. I'm going to take you guys through how we figured this out, how I came up with a plan, and what it was that we did to drain this swamp area. Now, this is different than anything we've ever showed you guys before. We do a lot of this. We reclaim land for homeowners all the time. You got to be careful because a lot of times you got to involve the DNR, the DEQ. Obviously, there's all these regulations. You just got to, do your homework so you don't find yourself in a bad way. Because I know contractors that got into a big job like this, and the next thing you know, they found themselves shut down and caught up in so much red tape, and it just ended up being, fine after fine. They'll literally shut you down, tell you can't move a single thing, including your equipment. You just got to leave until it's all sorted out. So, just so you know, we have a lot of experience with this. We know all the right people to call. And once you've done it a couple of times, it's really not so bad. So this guy did his homework. He got on the internet and he found our company, and he seen the reviews, and he realized that, hey, there is actually somebody out there that knows how to drain a swamp. So he reached out to us, and I couldn't be more excited to take care of this problem for this family, because this is one of our specialties, to do the things that the others can't, to do the things that the others wouldn't even have a clue. They actually turn and just go running. Once in a while you might find one that's bold enough to take the man's money, but they just don't get it right. So I'm going to show you how I went about laying the system out, what we did to drain this swamp so that it could actually dry out, tighten up. He could send his lawn crew in there, and just manicuring, just cutting all this back and drying it up, his yard will come back really, really fast. Now, we did use a 6-inch Boffman, the virgin yellow 6-inch. We went with the mini culvert pipe because I'm draining a swamp. There's so much water that we're dealing with here that I wanted to put in a 6-inch pipe. And because right now it's currently so soft, I wanted to make sure when the lawn crew comes in to mow this swamp area, they don't damage our pipe. So what better pipe to use than the Boffman mini culvert pipe? They're 6-inch 4-slot, and it is so strong you can drive cars, trucks, tractors over it. Doesn't matter. Stuff's indestructible. We love it. All right, so I'm going to show you the lay of the land. This required a drone. Okay, see the water? You see where the lowest elevation is where there was actually pooling water in this swamp. I have to dry out this area of the swamp by running French drain to the lowest elevation in the swamp. So through footwork, walking through all that, overgrown property, and through aerial with the drone, we were able to actually put together a pretty good game plan. The thing that was really, really crazy was after we dug around those sprinkler valve boxes, because we want to put stone all around them, and we're running our big 6-inch pipe, we still seen water coming from the ground. It didn't have minerals in it, so I knew it wasn't. I didn't think it was, a spring. Usually if you have a spring, it's got minerals in it. You could see like a mirror, like oil spill on top. So this is what it looks like on the ground. Can you imagine working in this? I mean, how would you go about it? So I'm going to show you just how to drain a swamp. I'm going to show you just how you go about it. So here it is. It's all overgrown. Just absolutely, this would overwhelm the average contractor. You can see our U17 in the weeds over there. I flagged everything, and I carefully just took a shovel and I found that valve box, thank God, because you don't want to take your track hoe and grab a hold of 3-4 sprinkler zones and rip them out of the ground, because now you have to restore that. So look at the overgrown growth on the ground. Look at that. I mean, look at the U17 Kubota. Francisco's frustrated. He's taking his frustrations out on whatever that is, that poor tree. But, this is what it takes to get through. So I found the lowest elevations, and I literally marked a line that was all the lowest elevations and potholes all the way to the lowest elevation, which was that swampy area that you've seen from the drone. I will actually take you back up on a drone flight here after we get done talking about this overgrowth. So a lot of guys will use chemical spray and they'll just napalm the area, and I've done it, but it's really hard on the environment anymore nowadays. I understand the importance for a zero impact to the environment. So we're going to get our drain in, and we're just going to cut back what is necessary in order to get the system in. So you see Valente, he's having to deal with cutting some of the the overgrowth out of the way so that he can at least get the readings on the transit there. We want to get the laser level. We want to make sure that we are draining this water. We want to make sure we got the correct slope. So this is a little bit of a slow go, but we're kind of just cutting a road, as you can see, through 12 feet. I think that's got to be 12 feet. I know that Valente's in a trench, but still, look at how tall all that vegetation is above his head. So another thing you do when you're digging in a swamp, you want to use your biggest bucket. Our U17 has an 18-inch bucket. That is the largest bucket that you can buy for that machine. You want to use a big bucket, because when you take a scoop of swamp mud, when you take just a giant scoop of that goop, it'll just fill in the hole. So your regular 9-inch bucket that does a breakout on clay to, something larger, you'll get breakout on a 9-inch bucket sometimes up to 18 inches. It don't work that way in the swamp. I mean, this is muck. We are down in the muck. I mean, it's really, really black, rich muck. I mean, highly fertile. That's why everything's growing 12 feet tall. So we got our 18-inch bucket, and we're just scooping all this swamp muck out. We got 2 ditch witches running. So we got Cal, we got Valentine, and they're running these ditch witches hard. I hauled out a lot of swamp muck, but look at that 18-inch bucket in width. It carved a nice groove through that swamp. Now, Gabby's up on a ladder right now shooting this for you guys. We're trying to give you these from A to Z hole installs. They're digging out around that valve box. We don't want to dig around it with a track hole, that's for sure, because there's sprinkler lines going to that valve box, and there's several zones in that valve box. So we want to expose it. We want to somewhat unearth it. We're just going to put stone around it. That way this doesn't happen again, because if the wrong guys came in to do this job, I'm confident they would not have found that valve box until it was too late. They would have had it in a bucket on their track hoe, just take a big shovel of swamp muck, and all of a sudden they see the valve box and lines hanging. And why do I know this? Because I was young, inexperienced once, and I've been there, and it really blows. So this part here is no fun. Everybody's hand digging, but it's what you got to do to be safe around sprinkler valve boxes. Usually the valve boxes have many main lines going to them, so there's a lot of plumbing around them. So, just digging it by hand, it's the most cautious way to go about it. We got our 18-inch bucket in here, and we're just cutting a groove. We're just cutting a really big groove. We're going to replace this all with stone, and we're going to use the round rock. You guys know we like round rock, and you know why we use the round rock. The round rock doesn't compact. When you use crushed stone compacts. Then you don't have those voids in between the stone. You end up, moving less water with crushed stone. Round rock, it's like, picture just a 5-gallon pail full of marbles. It's not going to compact. They stay loose. There's going to be void in between them. They can't compact. Same with round rock. So that's why we use round rock, and we always get people in the comment sections asking us what size stone. I like 1.5 inch, 1.5 to 2 inch. If you can get that, your system's going to scream. You're going to move so much water, and then when you're done moving the water, now you got air traveling through the system, and then that dries out the area and tightens it up even quicker. So that's what's nice. If you use pea stone and you got no void and it's just all compacted, and pea stone's filthy and it's got sand in it too, now you aren't going to dry out that yard very quick. You're not going to move the water very fast, and you're not going to have air circulating through the system. That's what really tightens up a yard. So you want void. You got to have void. How do you get void? You got to use bigger aggregate. You got to use bigger stone in your French drain. So as you can see, this is swamp muck. This, like I was telling you, I was hauling out that big gooseneck dump trailer that you're used to seeing. I took a lot of swamp muck out on this job, man, a lot. And, the guys, I got to say, for as bad as that stuff smells, they always manage to make the most of each and every day. And, this crew here, they're definitely a great crew to be around. So now Gabby's up on top of the excavator to get this shot, and I since mounted a GoPro mount for her because I just don't need OSHA coming down on me for this. She wasn't told to get up on there. She did it on her own, and I wasn't on site. Look at that 6-inch pipe, man. Look at that. That is unbelievable. And look at the size inlets. I mean, it's 4-slot, but look at those slots. You can put a silver dollar through them. I mean, this is a monster 6-inch mini culvert pipe. Virgin material. This is going to last 200 to 500 years. That's what its estimated life expectancy is, and we're taking it right to where that pooled water is when I had that aerial view in the drone. And like I said, I'll get you back up there soon here, but I want to show you how we put in this Critter Guard, the FDM Critter Guard. We got one for the 4-inch pipes. We got one for the 6-inch pipes. It's stainless steel, so it's never going to rust. And this way, we won't have to deal with any animals making a home out of this mini culvert pipe. So you always have to do that. Squirrels will go up in there. Muskrats will go up in there. It will become a home for somebody. There's the valve boxes. You can see how we used our drain fabric like we always do. We lined everything because we're going to separate the stone from the muck. And we're keeping this part here a dry creek bed. So that's pretty cool. It looks great because it's so big. You know, when you dig with an 18-inch bucket. Now, keep in mind, guys, when you're doing something like this and you start doing dry creek beds, you're going to use more stone. So you do got to estimate for more stone. If you're a DIY guy, you're going to use more stone, but it's a cool look. I recommended it to the homeowner because in the swamp there, you know, he's going to get this cut back by his landscaper, but they're not going to cut way back in here where we had to run this. I said, let's keep it a dry creek bed. That way, you always know where the drain is, so there's no excuses. Somebody can't just go there, dig, and tear it up. So you can see how, you know, this runs to that wet area. You see we're running the 2 ditch witches. Now, right here, we had water running, and we're like, what is going on? You know, we thought we caught all the water. So I told Francisco, we can't leave. We got to follow the water because we're here to get rid of the water. So we actually had to unload the excavator off of the trailer. It was already chained down and everything, and just start digging again. And I was kind of puzzled. His wellhead was in here, and you can see it right down there. It's to the right of Francisco and that excavator. Valentine, he's over here shoveling that dry creek bed, leveling it off real nice. And right there, you can see the wellhead. It's white. It's in the weeds. It's to the right of the U-17. I thought his wellhead, it was leaking. I really did, because there was no minerals in this water that we were chasing. So I thought, okay, this is coming from down deep, and this is going to be, you know, a problem. I'll go to the homeowner with it as soon as we find it. Well, what we ended up finding, believe it or not, they ran all the roof runoff into the swamp. It overgrew, so now the roof runoff system is completely full of water. What we saw, the seepage, it was actually just a bunch of 4-inch drain tile that was holding all the roof runoff, and it could not escape because the discharge end was grown over. We eventually hit that pipe, and then it just started gushing water. So we went ahead and took care of that, opened that back up for that gentleman. That wasn't in the quote. I didn't see that when I walked it to do an estimate, but what are you going to do? You're there for the water. You got to take care of it. And there's that low point right there where you can actually see, you know, all the algae on top of the water. There's actually a big area of standing water. That was the lowest elevation in the swamp, and that's where we took our dry creek bed. So we do burrito wrap our dry creek bed, guys. We put stone on top of that double punch fabric that we use. So you don't want to overlap the fabric because you can never get the holes to line up. That's the problem. So you just want to cut it and trim it, and maybe just an inch overlap, and use the fabric pins, and then just go ahead and put stone over top of that. There you go. That's your finished, you know, dry creek bed. Now over here, he is going to have his landscaper mow it, and he's going to use it for soccer. So we went ahead and we saved a little bit of that very fertile, you know, swamp muck, and then we put grass seed on it, and it'll just thrive. So they're just making a nice thick covering for the dry creek bed. That way he always knows where it's at. And think about it, plants can't grow in stone. They can't. They need dirt. They have to have some sort of dirt. I know you get weeds in decorative rock, but there's dirt under it. We dug this out with an 18-inch bucket. We're super wide, and we dug it out 18 inches deep. So there's no way nothing's going to grow in this dry creek bed. It'll always be exposed, easy for the homeowner to find. Shouldn't be any issues. If somebody even does a fall cleanup and throws a bunch of leaves and debris on top of it, it'll still drain because there's this big vein of stone that's going to move all the water. And it's shot on pitch. And a lot of people are always like, FDM, what is your slope? FDM, well, obviously take as much slope as you possibly can. But if every drain job we did was in a perfect world, 3% slope is screaming, and we were at 3% slope on this job. This system here rips. This system here really rocks. So I'm going to try to get back to this one and show you guys after the landscaper, mowed it a few times and reclaimed this man's backyard. But there's our grass seed and straw, how we like to put straw over our grass seed. But, I'll take you on a quick flight and just show you, where we're at. How do you send a crew into this? I mean, they're going to be overwhelmed. But, I did my homework. I walked the site, and I got flags in. And I told them, just follow the flags, as hard as it's going to be. And luckily, I did find that sprinkler box right there. And I put so many orange flags around that sprinkler box. And I went through this with each and every one of the crew members. And everybody knew going in what they were dealing with. And I got to tell you, this job went well. This job went pretty darn smooth when you consider we were working in a swamp and we worked to drain the swamp. And we did that. This is the before drone flight right there. And once I saw that algae covered pool in the back of the swamp was the lowest elevation. We just had a bunch of trees that fell and rotted, and then that creates an organic material that creates a little bit of a dam. You see where I'm going with this. So we just had to cut a nice trench in the lowest point to that algae pool to drain this man's swamp. All right, so if you appreciate this new format and the way we've been shooting some of these jobs, where we take you from the ground to the aerial, we take you from me laying it out to even giving you a quote like this job here, you're looking at $12,000 for this job. See, I've been sharing all this with you guys, and all I'm asking for is if you're finding value in this as a homeowner, if you're finding value in this as a contractor, I'm showing you the equipment, I'm showing you the materials, I'm showing you the strategy, I'm showing you everything. I'm basically giving you the handbook. Give me a thumbs up. There's so much that goes into turning a video like this that you just can't even imagine. And the crew, I got to thank my crew. I have to thank my crew because we're always in their way, and when it's 90 out and your mosquitoes are at you and you're working in a swamp, please give us a thumbs up if you really appreciate this, and subscribe. If you are new to this channel, hit that subscribe button because we're always doing something fun. And I want to thank Oxford, Michigan for having us. We look forward to coming back. All right, everybody, until the next video.